Hi, my name is Ben Raylin Fong, and I'm a third-year PhD student in the Comparative Literature Department with designated emphases in critical theory and science and technology studies. Over the summer, I worked with the Chinese Historical Society of America, CHSA, to conduct oral history interviews of Chinatown residents, restaurant owners, community groups, and cultural institutions inspired by the UC Davis Chinese Cookbook Collection. Over the course of a lot of lunches, dinners, and bubble teas, a number of histories, photographs, and cookbooks were shared with me. I was able to build a digital map for my project titled Homestyle Cooking, a cookbook connecting past and present in San Francisco Chinatown using ArcGIS Storymaps that shares community-based histories and stories of San Francisco Chinatown. My presentation today provides a timeline that shares my own public scholarship journey that would not have happened without the generous support of the Mellon Public Scholars Program and CHSA. I introduce my background, my original proposal, my work over the summer, and the project so far. And then I conclude with my future plans for the upcoming year. One of the exciting things about this project has been while my dissertation focuses primarily on Chinese picture cultures that range from illustrated fiction to film from 1930 to present day, my Friday afternoons over the last year have consisted of me and my colleague Tianyun visiting special collections to browse through the UC Davis Chinese Cookbook Collection. As an aside, for me personally, this has been a rejuvenating and restorative bit of work that I've been able to do that has complemented my academic and personal life. My grandpa was a first-generation immigrant who was a trained chef, and he never wrote anything down. And my childhood memories are of him cooking just an incredible variety of food when my family would visit my grandparents over the summer. In the years after he's passed, the Fong family has tried to piece together how to cook grandpa's family meals. While staying with my family in San Francisco during the pandemic, we found a pair of bilingual cookbooks from Taiwan that my grandpa had given to both my mom and my uncle that he thought were an excellent example of how to learn both Chinese and Chinese cooking. And that discovery prompted me to engage with the cookbook collection here at Davis. Unbeknownst to a lot of us, the UC Davis Library has one of the largest Chinese cookbook collections in America, with over 1,100 items dated from the 1910s to 1990s from the joint collections of Gardner Pond and Peter Hertzman. The pair began as tour guides in Chinatown for the Chinese Culture Center and were active members in the Association of Chinese Cooking Teachers that I've been a part of. When I first proposed this project, I did not know anything about public scholarship or community-based engagement. My proposal began as a physical cookbook, an online website, and a 10-episode podcast that were all led by me. I would be the one producing the knowledge. This structure from before our seminar reflects how a lot of us in the academy, or at least in comparative literature, are traditionally taught to view and present public scholarship as knowledge that we are producing and distributing to the public. I talked about improving access to the Davis Chinese Cookbook Collection that focused on how our collection was an excellent resource for students while being removed from the original community in Chinatown. I originally was focused on improving the accessibility of the collection by producing a physical bilingual cookbook and online bilingual website that was foundationally about the cookbook collection. As the year progressed, there was a sense that the original proposal needed to change. During our preliminary categorization of the 1,100 items, a whole swath of them were eliminated because we were only interested in focusing on materials that we felt were authored by Chinese or Chinese Americans, or that had a relationship to San Francisco Chinatown. This eliminated some of the collection's questionable materials, but also materials from outside the San Francisco Bay Area. At the same time, conversations during my seminar led by Stephanie and my cohort, alongside conversations with my advisor, Wendy, challenged my base assumptions about the project. Was it okay to use this collection as my foundation? A cookbook from Arkansas called Cecilia Tu's Cooking Classes changed my project's direction. Originally produced by Chinese Americans in a rural community in Arkansas, the cookbook was used to raise money for children with cerebral palsy. Tu's son had cerebral palsy, and the Chinese American community had come together to contribute recipes and knowledge to help someone in the community with an acute need. This inspired my own radical shift in my project that decentered the collection. Instead of distributing the collection, I began to be interested in how I could provide the opportunity for Chinese American voices to share their story, rather than to share fixed, silent recipes and stories that were collected. At the end of the seminar, we had gone through the collection and had a list of people we wanted to chat with. The first half of the summer consisted of getting the equipment, emailing, calling, and visiting over 100 people. I was going into Chinatown every day from outer Richmond to meet with someone or to pop in somewhere. After we had our list, we began to do interviews. My first few were rocky, and I hope to treat some people to a second interview to rectify my own interviewing mistakes. One of the most rewarding meals I had over the summer was with members of the Presbyterian Church in Chinatown that had produced a number of editions of cookbooks like Cecilia Two's. Here's a clip from the meal that describes what happened.
Put together by the Women's Fellowship, which is a church women's group for fundraising. And the funds went to Cameron House, which you may have also looked up about that organization because we're connected. It's a mission house, and so we are connected in the work that we do. For the Cantonese group, we thought, well, we'll ask the ladies to give us recipes of the down-home cooking, what they cook at home, their favorite recipes. But it was difficult because they didn't write anything down because they knew how to cook everything the way they cooked, how much to buy and all that. So I think we I don't know how we managed doing that, but we kind of had to help it along and really talk to them and say, well, let's do this dish and, how much of this spice and how many pounds of this meat and that kind of thing. So anyway, it produced this little cookbook, and it has names of each one who submitted them. And they're kind of down-home cooking recipes, many of them. And then so that was 1966.
This was one of the 30 plus interviews I did over the summer that ranged from quick street side chats to dim sum meals. One of the most rewarding interviews has been with the 4 Chinese language bookstores in San Francisco. Currently, there are only 2 in Chinatown, and we were able to interview the owner of Louis Brothers Bookstore that had closed recently and the owner of Sino American Bookstore. This recurring change in Chinatown was reflected in one interview we did. Here's a clip here. Were there any restaurants that you liked to eat at growing up, or?
Oh, growing up, yeah, there were a bunch of them on Jackson Street, just down around the corner that we. Yeah. I used to belong to I still do, the YMCA, and we and my friends, we'd always play ball there, and afterwards we'd come down there to eat. There were lots of places we'd eat. It was good. Yeah.
I've because when I've talked to people, they've said that a lot of the ones that they used to go to growing up, they've either closed or they've moved.
Pretty much closed, but there are still 2 down there. The one right here on the corner, Curry is still there, and the pork chop house just across the street is still there. And we still go there occasionally.
That's really good.
Yeah. So it's been around as long as I've been around, and some of these places are almost 100 years old. So they're real long traditions. But yeah.
The diversity in our oral histories reflects one of the tangible problems I faced during the second half of my summer after I recorded the oral histories. While I had initially been keen to use a website or a narrative style story, these narrative forms were only telling my story of the collection. I elected to pursue a digital map that provides viewers the freedom to digitally move around the Chinatown they are familiar with and engage with whatever content is of interest to them. Apart from the digital map having the pins that we've created based off the shared oral histories, the narrative is more community-centered. I hope to open source the digital map for bilingual resources, including recipes, pictures, and stories from the Chinese American community to provide a living and representative history of a San Francisco Chinatown that is different from what it looks like today. Where is the project headed? In September, me and Tianyan received a very good rating on our proposal for the Cal Humanities Quick Grant to continue the project. For the upcoming year, we are revising our proposal so we can receive an excellent rating and funding. Concurrently, we are working with the DHI and Special Collections to produce a 3-episode podcast for winter and spring, centered around our experiences that expands on today's presentation, that explores my public scholarship journey navigating a problematic archive and figuring out how to best work with the community to share these oral histories and reclaim the archive in space for Chinese Americans. This is paired with a curated exhibition on the Davis Chinese Cookbook Collection and our project that we're organizing with the DHI and Special Collections at UC Davis sometime in the winter or spring. We will be continuing to record and share oral histories by interviewing people represented in the collection's archive to map the human relationality within the community through food and cooking. There's a bunch of interviews we couldn't do over the summer, and we're organizing a lot more for the winter and spring. We're scanning a lot of materials from the collection that inspired us to reach out to people, whether it's from price tags of a local bookstore to the mention of someone's name in a letter. We're working to edit and clean up the oral histories, both in sound quality and to respect our interviewees. Ultimately, the digital map and oral histories will be hosted by UC Davis and CHSA. I'd like to thank Stephanie Maroney for her work leading the Mellon Public Scholars Program and for a brilliant seminar. Everyone in my cohort was inspirational, and I really learned a lot from all of you. I'd like to thank Kimberly Setto at the Chinese Historical Society of America for being a wonderful partner. I want to thank Wendy Ho for her work as an excellent and thoughtful mentor. My colleague Tianyan Hua has been exceptional, and I'm looking forward to a full year working with her on the continuation of this project. Jenny Chan from the Pacific Atrocities Education is one of those people who knows everyone and has been helpful in organizing interviews as well. Lastly, I want to thank every single person we've contacted, talked with, and shared a meal with. This project is yours, and I hope we're able to make it shine. Feel free to contact me at benfong@ucdavis.edu for more information. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming year.